working opportunities for people, and certainly we pay them. They are jobs. Many of them work very hard. But nonetheless, those jobs are nothing like a manufacturing job in the private sector. Why do I say that? Well, a government job, according to all the experts, says a government job creates about 1.3 other jobs. For each government job that we create, there's 1.3 other jobs created. If you create a manufacturing job, 7 jobs for every manufacturing job created. Ratio of 7 to 1. So that has to be the focus, and that has been our focus. In fact, at the state level, state employment has been decreased from about 60,000 down to about 50,000 now. So state level employment has gone down dramatically, and the private sector jobs are being created at a fairly good clip here in Ohio. So government does not create the jobs. Government business does that. Entrepreneurs, workers, etc. And what's the formula that a government can use then to help with job creation and help with economic recovery? There's one thing that government is well suited to do, and that's create an environment where jobs can prosper, where the economy can prosper. And the way to do that is the age-old formula: reduce taxes, reduce regulations, etc. And we've done a fairly good job at that in Columbus as well. We reduced, just this year alone, your personal income taxes, we cut them by 10%. Pretty good from 1 year's work. We cut small business taxes fairly dramatically. In fact, this year, if you own a small business, the first $250,000 of income that you earn, there's a 75% reduction in the tax you have to pay. And why did we do that? Well, because when you cut small business taxes, remember, small business is the primary driver of the economy. That's where the jobs come from. So when you give those people more capital, what can they do with it? They can grow their business. They can hire more people, etc., etc. So it's good, sir. There has been some good things done. And I have to give the governor credit on those things I mentioned. He was, in many cases, he led the charge. He was good on those issues. Now, move into some of the darker types of things that I'm not real happy with. This last budget, House Bill 59, it had some good things in it. But there were some very bad things as well. For instance, spending increased at about 3 times the rate of inflation. Unsustainable. We can't keep that up. It increased the state sales tax. Long-term, some of the things we've done will increase your property taxes in all probability over time. It eliminated the indexing of income taxes. You may not know what that is. It's something I passed about 10 years ago. Created a situation where the tax brackets increase at the rate of inflation. So if you get a cost of living increase, it doesn't bump you into a higher tax bracket. They eliminated that for the next 3 years, which is sort of a covert way of increasing your taxes. So I voted against that. Republicans aren't supposed to vote against a Republican budget, but I just felt it was the right thing to do, and I still feel it's the right thing to do. I stood firmly against Medicaid expansion. I still think that's a budget buster. That could very well bankrupt this state 5 to 10 years from now, the Medicaid expansion. Plus, which a lot of people don't realize this, and I didn't know it either until I got the research, but there's been study after study by legitimate organizations, University of Virginia, for instance, that show that people on Medicaid, in so many cases, their health outcomes are worse than those with no insurance. It's amazing. In fact, they did a study, a nationwide study, over 100,000 participants, and they found that people that were hospitalized with serious surgical problems, needed surgery, they died at a 13% higher rate if they were on Medicaid than they did if they had no insurance. 13% higher rate. So obviously, I think I did the right thing in standing against the Medicaid expansion. There I disagreed with the governor profoundly and ended up joining in a suit against him, which was unsuccessful, to turn over the Medicaid expansion. So there's been good and bad. I think I was intimately involved in most of the good stuff, very supportive of it. And I'm proud of what we've accomplished for the most part. but very ashamed of some of the things that probably we should not have done. It's always a pleasure to see you folks, and if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to call me. Chuck has my cell number, and I'm sure he'll spread it around as I'm giving him permission now. Feel free to do that. Anyone in this, well, here, my cell number is 440-487-8526. If you have any concerns or issues, please give me a call. I'd be glad to do what I could. And with that, I think my time is up. The shepherd's rod's about to come out. Thank you, Ron.
Okay. Our next candidate is Ron Tamburino, who's running for the 11th District Court of Appeals. Ron Tamburino.
Thank you. My name is Ron Tamburino. I'm running for one of the two contested seats on the 11th District Court of Appeals. I've met some of you, but not all of you, so please bear with me. I'm going to give those who I haven't met a little bit of background. I am 56 years old. I was a practicing attorney for 31 years before I retired on April 30th. My first 5 years I was in private practice. I did civil litigation, criminal defense litigation, and some private corporation work and nonprofit corporation work. I graduated from the University of Akron with a degree in fire science and went to law school at the University of Akron. And during my last couple of years of undergraduate school and during law school, I worked for some individuals that were engaging in insurance fraud investigations and arson investigations. And by the time I graduated from law school, I had started my own business as an insurance fraud investigator. That gave me a leg up on my classmates in a very down economy in 1983 when I graduated from law school, and allowed me to open up a private practice of law doing some work for insurance companies, and that paid the bills. And I ultimately moved into some class action defense and some of the other legal work that I talked about. A case that I was working on involving a large fire loss in Dayton, Ohio, it was a $180 million warehouse fire loss, led me to some attorneys, some in-house attorneys at the Sherwin-Williams Company, and I had a small bit player in that fire loss. It was a lift truck operator, and the attorneys who were in-house at Sherwin-Williams thought that I had some unique qualifications and ultimately asked me to join their legal staff at the Sherwin-Williams Company, and that's where I stayed for the next 26 years. The last 7 years at the Sherwin-Williams Company, I was in charge of a group of attorneys in my department. My title was Associate General Counsel Litigation, and I was in charge of all the litigation and all of the appeals in the United States for the Sherwin-Williams Company. I have broad experience in all types of cases, government investigations. You gotta love those government regulators. They put a lot of bread and butter on the table for a lot of lawyers, unfortunately at all of our expense. True story, I met with each of the 5 commissioners on the Federal Trade Commission in 2012 involving a matter where they were investigating issues, and Sherwin-Williams was one of the targets of the investigation. And in each commissioner's office, when we went to meet with them, there was a staff of 6 people who were attorneys, and then each of the staff members had their own attorney or 2 with them. So Washington is full of lawyers, and so when someone says I'm from Washington and I'm here to help, beware. So anyway, my personal life, my wife of 21 years, Leanne, and I have 6 children. Before we started having our own children, we raised her half-siblings who lost their parents within 6 months of each other. When the youngest of those 3 half-siblings turned 16, we started having our own children. So our children are, we have a 19-year-old who started her 2nd year at Grove City College this fall, great school. I have a 17-year-old son, 15-year-old son, 13-year-old son, 10-year-old daughter, and 8-year-old son. And he keeps me hopping, believe me. I'm running for a seat on the 11th District Court of Appeals. Well, before I get into that, we live on a